Welcome to another episode of Service to Humanity, a sponsored program of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. I am your anchor on the program, Habiba Zakzak. On the program this evening, we shall bring you reports of recent happenings in the ministry and its agencies. A two-day workshop to share good lessons and best practices on Nigeria homegrown school feeding is one such activity. Success stories on the NSIPs is another. Please stay tuned.
Our program is key to helping young Nigerians acquire and develop.
The federal government of Nigeria remains committed to including and protecting persons with disabilities to guarantee that no one is left behind.
I see that we are going through challenging times, and I see this woman running all about the country trying to help our people, because this lady is doing a very good job for our country.
Thank you.
Thank you for all what you have been doing for us.
The program starts with the Management Diary, where we bring you the news and current happenings in the ministry and her agencies. In the news, Minister named one of 8 inspiring African women shaping the future of Africa, and NSIP rescues victims of human trafficking. Don't go away.
In celebrating International Women's Day this year, Alethea Development Center, a public policy and agenda-setting think tank, has identified the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajiya Sadiya Umar Farouk, alongside 7 others as inspiring women from Africa who are breaking barriers and inspiring generations of future female leaders from the continent. Alethea Development Center described the Honorable Minister as a trailblazer and one who has standardized procedures for utilizing research, data gathering, and planning for resettling, rehabilitating, reintegrating, and readmitting persons of concern during her tenure as Commissioner for National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons. Alethea Development Center praised the Honorable Minister for constantly leading logistics mobilization, real-time responses, sensitization and awareness, and proactive measures aimed at mitigating disasters in Nigeria and the impact of disasters on the Nigerian population. Farouk was further lauded for being instrumental in the evacuation of Nigerian citizens from Ukraine because of the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war. A team of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons (NSIPs) and the Department of State Services (DSS) has rescued a Burundian woman and her 3 children from traffickers in Umonoha village, Mbatioli Council of Imo State, where they were held, bound, and exploited. Director General of NSIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, disclosed this in a communique issued in Abuja. She said investigation showed that the victims have refugee status in Kenya but were trafficked to Lagos by human traffickers in September 2021 and thereafter moved to Umonoha in Imo State, where they were confined and forced into menial labor on daily basis just to feed. The victims were rescued during a sting operation carried out on their holding mud house by the combined team, where they were cramped due to a tip-off by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees at NSIP headquarters. According to Azi, the yet-to-be-identified human trafficker seized the victims' travel documents and other valuable personal belongings in the process. While commending stakeholders who provided information and assisted in ensuring a successful operation that led to the rescue of the victims, she assured that those behind the victims' ordeal would be identified and prosecuted. Imo State Commander of NSIP, Ernest Ogbu, said the victims' account indicated that they might have been deceived by the trafficker into coming to Nigeria and a remote village in Imo State without resistance.
You are still watching Service to Humanity. In recent years, the African Union member states have embraced the idea of implementing homegrown school feeding programs. In 2016, at the 26th session of the African Union Assembly, African heads of state declared the homegrown school feeding as a strategy to improve education, boost smallholder agriculture, and overall local economies. In line with that, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, in partnership with Japan International Cooperation Agency (JICA) and UDA-NEPAD, last week organized a 2-day capacity building workshop in Abuja to improve on the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. Let's take details of the event in our next story. Keep watching.
The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, in partnership with Japan International Cooperation Agency (JICA) and UDA-NEPAD, organized a 2-day capacity building workshop in Abuja.
The guideline actually designed to improve school feeding in Africa.
The objectives of the capacity building workshop are to share Nigeria good lessons and best practices on the implementation of homegrown school feeding program, to roll out the HGSF guidelines and assess the operational challenges of using the guide, to determine if the format of the guideline is user-friendly and easy to follow, to get consensus and ownership on the use of the HGSF guide as a tool for guiding the design and implementation of HGSF programs, to share IFNA's Nigeria progress and available tools to address issues of food and nutrition security, example multi-sectoral approach, nutrient-focused approach.
In Nigeria, since 2016.
In his remarks, Sasaki Saigo, Senior Representative, Japan International Cooperation Agency (JICA) Nigeria Office, said that the workshop was a good opportunity to share good lessons and best practices on Nigeria homegrown school feeding. According to Taigo, one of the priorities of IFNA is the promotion of the homegrown school feeding program.
The purpose of this FCT nutrition project is to enhance capacity of nutrition officers for delivering nutrition interventions in FCT. We plan to upscale the outcome of this project to extra target states as well.
Speaking earlier at the workshop on Wednesday in Abuja, the Minister Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk revealed the training of stakeholders in the National Homegrown School Feeding Program has commenced, and the aim of the training is to strengthen the capacity building of the stakeholders on the school feeding initiative. Represented by Ms. Aisha Dugil, NHGSFP team lead, Umar Farouk said no fewer than 9 million children are currently benefiting from the program. She further stated that the homegrown school feeding program is a global strategy to fight poverty.
The school feeding program is globally recognized as a poverty reduction strategy as well, because it has so many components that provides opportunities for various value chain actors. For instance, we are providing these free meals through a combination of supply chain activities. You have cooks or caterers who are engaged by the state government, who also receive direct funding from the federal government. So if you look closely, you see that financial inclusion is happening, women empowerment is happening. You also see that smallholder farmers are participating, because we've said this is a national homegrown school feeding program. So you don't see imports in the menus. You see menus that are designed based on locally available, accessible and affordable food items.
Similarly, the Deputy Governor of Osun State, Mr. Benedict Alabi, said that school feeding programs remain a significant social safety net intervention to specifically strengthen the educational sector. Alabi, who was represented by Folake Olaniyan, Osun School Feeding Program Manager, said this was with a focus on vulnerable children by improving capacity through good foods.
It may interest you to know that the program has greatly and unprecedentedly improved the level of enrollment of pupils and their retentive capacity in our state of Osun, hereby reshaping elementary education in the state. Of paramount importance are heavy feeds recorded by our state through the program, in which poor pupils' enrollment and retention situation previously experienced in the state witnessed an improvement after the introduction of the school feeding program.
Invited participants to the workshop include the National School Feeding Multi-Sectoral Committee members, the National School Feeding HGSF Program States Managers focal points in the country. Other key stakeholders include nutritionists linked to school feeding, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Ministry of Basic Education where school feeding is not within the ministry, Ministry of Local Government, Social Protection Representative, academic and research institutions, and M&E relevant staff for the program were available. At the workshop, participants gave an overview of Nigeria National Homegrown School Feeding Program, its success, opportunities, and challenges. Aisha Dugi led the sessions.
A lot of the success is dependent on, number one, the state's buy-in. So how committed that state is to ensuring and protecting that one thing. That is a very important factor. And then some of the success factors include, the administration, how capable or how much capacity, of course, the state school feeding program offices have to actually run this program, to manage this program as a real project should be managed, and also the monitoring structures. I'm sure we're going to hear more and more about monitoring.
Ms. Kefilwe Roba Mwalosi, Senior Nutrition Officer at Auda NEPAD, introduced the Auda NEPAD guidelines to participants of the workshop. According to Ms. Mwalosi, the 5 school feeding quality standards from the organizational structure of the guidelines, namely policy and legal framework, financial capacity and stable funding, institutional capacity for implementation and coordination, design and implementation, and community participation. Ms. Mwalosi highlights aims of the Auda NEPAD guidelines.
School feeding program requires a multi-sectoral approach. We all need partners, right, to work with. We have to work with sectors such as education, health. I know that here, the school feeding is under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, right? But we should not forget that there are other key ministries. We have the education, we have the health, right? We have the agriculture. So we have to ensure that we work together. We include each other in a collective way when it comes to school feeding program.
Zainab Abubakar, Technical Assistant to the Honorable Minister on the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, also shares with participants lessons from Nigeria's School Feeding Committee with regards to multi-sectoral coordination.
So yesterday we mentioned we're currently doing enumeration of our beneficiaries of the school feeding program. Some committee members have actually gone out to the field to participate in the monitoring of that exercise. So it gave them a better idea, field experience to see how the school feeding actually works down at the state level. We got reports from them, some I'll say constructive criticism for corrections and things like that. Another thing again where the Matatoa members have come in is to engage in some of our partnerships. So I don't know if Aisha mentioned, we're currently working with the World Food Program to strengthen the program to do a school feeding program policy.
Participants at the workshop lauded the initiative while speaking on its relevance.
This event is organized to roll out the AUDA NEPAD Homegrown School Feeding Program guideline to whole Nigeria state or Nigeria partners. Which the guideline will be soon approved and published soon.
The Ministry of Budget and National Planning is the coordinating ministry for food and nutrition in the country. And JICA has come up with an initiative to support the Nigerian government to reduce the rate of malnutrition in the country. And they came up with a program called IFNA, Initiative for Food and Nutrition Security in the country. So we have identified 6 states in the country, one representing each geopolitical zones where this program will be implemented. So then we identify the nutrition challenges at those zones so that when fully implemented, the issue on nutrition will be fully addressed.
This program can be seen as a fulcrum for bringing as many stakeholders as have a role to play on issues of food and nutrition security and general development at large together to support an agricultural revolution followed by an industrial revolution. So all stakeholders must play their role in timely order. They should give back to the child through this program.
Across the 6 geopolitical zones,
They should use this money for what it is meant for, graciously to take care of their family.
in 36 states and the FCT. Over 6.4 million of Nigerians poorest of the poor in about 1.3 million households receive conditional cash transfers of 5,000 naira monthly under the Household Upliftment Program of the federal government. Their joy knows no bound.
And the government very well because they did well for us.
It helped me to do any other thing, my family.
Reducing absolute poverty, promoting shared prosperity through the Conditional Cash Transfer Initiative. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in service to humanity.
You are watching Service to Humanity, bringing you activities from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development as it carries out its mandates. As we already know, the National Social Investment Program is a social welfare initiative created by the government of President Muhammadu Buhari in 2015 to ensure a more equitable distribution of resources to vulnerable populations, including children, youth, and women. In a recent chat with the National Coordinator of the NSIPs, Engineer Umar Bindir, he gives an overview of what has been happening with the program, achievements so far, and projects in the pipeline. Let's hear from him.
The federal government of Nigeria established the National Social Investment Program (NSIP) in 2016 to tackle poverty and hunger across the country. Since then, the program has supported more than 4 million beneficiaries countrywide through a fair and transparent process coordinated by the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and supported by the Ministry of Budget and National Planning and other notable MDSAs with aligned goals. The National Social Investment Program includes the Empower Program, designed to assist young Nigerians between the ages of 18 to 35 to acquire and develop lifelong skills, given a stipend of 30,000 naira monthly. The Conditional Cash Transfer Program directly supports those within the lowest poverty bracket by improving nutrition, increasing household consumption, and supporting the development of human capital through cash benefits to various categories of the poor and vulnerable. Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program (GEEP), a micro-lending intervention that targets traders, artisans, enterprising youth, farmers and women in particular by providing loans between 10,000 and 100,000 naira at no monthly cost to beneficiaries. The Homegrown School Feeding Program, aimed at delivering school feeding to young children with a specific focus on increasing school enrollment, reducing the incidence of malnutrition, empowering community women as cooks, and supporting small farmers that help stimulate economic growth. A lot of remarkable milestone achievements have been recorded in the implementation of the NSIP, and there have been new innovations to make them even more effective. The National Coordinator of the NSIP, Engineer Umar Bindir, shares with us achievements recorded so far in projects in the pipeline. It begins with the N Skills, a new branch of the N Power program.
The N knowledge is that you are not a graduate of tertiary institution, but you have SSC or secondary school or primary school and so on and so forth. You have some qualification. Therefore, you can read and write, you can interrogate the computers, but the N skills is now at the lowest level for people, young people who have energy, but they have never been to school. So these people, you can take them through leather works, they can make shoes, and you are just pumping skills onto them. That does not necessarily mean that they have to read and write and so on and so forth.
Dr. Bindur also speaks on the Mobile Money Agents program.
Before, there has to be a building called a bank. You have to go into the bank, get a form, fill the form to open an account, leave all your details there. But then which bank in Nigeria that has gotten a branch in every nook and cranny of Nigeria? There's no such bank, you know. So with the coming of these payment service providers, even banks are relying on these people to go to even down to the unit level, where you can see a young person sitting there, he has gotten his POS machine, and he has gotten his camera, and so on and so forth, and he can be able to provide the service. Now, if you connect it to our desire to give traders, market women, young people, opportunity to take loans under JIP, to establish their small businesses in their rural areas, that is how these mobile money agents come in. They can be able to provide these financial services to your doorstep.
On the JIP 2.0, Dr. Bindur speaks on progress so far.
What JIP 2.0 is that first, it is the ministry and the NSIP that is actually controlling it. We are not outsourcing it to an institution to do it. So it is the capacity of the civil servants and the public servants within the system that are actually doing it. Secondly, we expanded now to partner with other institutions like the orientation agency, the youth service, who have structures down to the ward level, you know, so that they can inform people about what the JIP is, tell them what they should expect, facilitate for delivery of the loans, and also for the recovery. So, but then, you see, the registration process, because the JIP says market money is market women, trader money is about traders, and then farmer money is about small-scale farmers, rural farmers. You cannot deploy the N-Power model of portal because these are grassroots people. So we had to print the forms and move with the forms using the NOA down to the local government and ward levels. NOA already are the experts to do with advocacy. As we speak, nationwide, we have registered more than 1 million prospective beneficiaries manually.
To cushion the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, President Muhammadu Buhari instructed the creation of a Rapid Response Register, a platform under the Conditional Cash Transfer (CCT). What is the RRR all about?
In urban areas particularly, a chap who is driving KK, because of COVID, they block everywhere, there is shut down, and therefore his KK is at home, he is back to poverty. The women in the market selling aleaho, dadawa, and soap, local soap, and all the whatever, you know, all of a sudden they shut down, close markets, and therefore they have nowhere to go. They drop onto poverty, and so on and so forth. So Mr. President said we should capture these new people, new entries into, they are not poor households in villages, but they are also in rural, in urban areas. They were doing something before, but all of a sudden they became vulnerable. Mop them all up, and that is the idea of the Rapid Response Register. President said, catch them, shock treat them very quickly, rapidly, because COVID is being relaxed, markets are opening, schools are opening, and keke napeps are going back, and we shock them for 6 months with the 5,000 naira per individual of a household, and gradually, in 6 months, they will now recover. As we speak, the government has made a budgetary approval to ensure that we shock treat 1 million. But the government further have approached the World Bank so that we can be able to have access to nearly 5 million. of this so that we can revamp people out of the effects of COVID.
Quite a lot is happening with the National Social Investment Program. As a tool for lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, the NSIP has surely made its impact felt, especially in the lives of young people, women, and children.
And that's our package on this episode of Service to Humanity. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is a new vista in addressing the many humanitarian needs and tackling the problem of poverty in the nation. It needs our support to maximize its impact. Until next week when I come your way again, enjoy the rest of your day.